What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the stock picking game. So in this video, I'm going to take you behind the scenes into my attempt at teaching my two kids, Hayley, age 11, and Ethan, age 9, about investing in the stock market. Now, this is a big undertaking considering that they've already spent their birthday money 6 months in advance, but I'm up for the challenge. Here we go. So why do a stock picking game or a game in general, and why now? Well, I just watched GameStop, ticker GME, rise roughly 1,600% in a matter of a few weeks. I then watched a video on TikTok where a young couple explained to the world their proprietary trading process where they buy stocks as they go up and they sell stocks before they go down. In a follow-up video, the couple responded to a series of negative comments citing the dangers of employing that type of strategy by telling their viewers, quote, "Eat my butt. I am not making any of this up. This is all real. Go on TikTok, watch CNN, CNBC to see what the stock prices are doing in GameStop and Nokia and some of these other companies. It is absolutely insane. And this is the world that your kids and your grandkids are entering. If they already have a smartphone or a TikTok account, they've already been exposed to some of this madness. But kids being exposed to it and adults being exposed to it, really, if you think about it, it's not that different. I used to have to coach clients on the differences between investing and trading. Trading being more short-term in nature, right? You're buying and you're selling typically within 1 year, trying to make a quick profit, whereas investing is a little bit more long-term. Now, I find myself trying to talk to clients about the differences between investing and gambling because the market really has turned into a giant casino. So back to the stock picking game, I had planned on doing this for some time, but with all that's going on right now in the market, I think GameStop is now down 20% today. Silver is up 10%, all because of this band of Reddit traders are just moving these smaller companies up and down. It's absolutely insane. So with some of the things I've seen just in the market and some of the things and videos that I've watched on TikTok and YouTube, I felt compelled to really put this out now because I just think it's important that my kids learn about what investing is and what investing isn't. I don't want them to enter into the market thinking that they can just buy something and it'll go up 200 or 300 or 400% in one day, because that's just not reality. I chose to do a game because personal finance, let's face it, as a subject is kind of boring, at least for most people. And I know that when you have an audience of a self-proclaimed Fortnite expert and the next up-and-coming TikTok star, you really have to kind of keep them engaged throughout the process. My kids just need to have fun. They need to be entertained, or else as soon as I say the word stock, they'll literally lose interest and probably fall asleep. I want them to experience what it feels like to make money, to lose money, and really how their own decisions can have an impact on their financial future. What you're gonna see here is my daughter Hayley and my son Ethan. You're gonna see their 3 stock picks that they're going to invest in. Now, I've already set up custodial accounts for each one of them and funded them with $250 each. So once the investments have been made, we're gonna track the performance throughout the year, at least until December 20th of this year. And the winner, meaning the account or the child who has the best performance, will be allowed to take their profits, but that's the total return. So the amount that their investments have gone up, as well as any dividends that have been received, they'll be allowed to take that out of their account and spend it on whatever they want around Christmas time. And the other child will actually have to hold on to their account and keep on investing at least for the next year or however long that we do the investment game. So what I did was I had my kids start with 5 names. So just think of 5 companies that you understand, you know how they make money, do a little bit of research, and then from those 5 names, condense it down and let's pick no more than 3. First up is my daughter Hayley and her stock picks.
I like Lululemon because a lot of people on the internet and social media like to buy their clothes, and when I went to Cleveland with my dad, I saw a lot of people in there buying their clothes. I also liked Apple because a lot of people like to buy their new phones and the new MacBooks and iPads. And I went to Cleveland with my dad, and the line was out the door just to get into the store. I also really liked Amazon because the pandemic and all that, a lot of people are buying online instead of going out because they're afraid. So that's why I liked Amazon. And I picked Samsung because they have like the TVs and they make lots of other stuff. And lastly, I liked Nike because a lot of people are collecting shoes and all their clothes on social media. So I just picked Nike. I'm gonna pick Lululemon, Apple, and Amazon. I would like to invest a little bit more in Apple because a lot of people like their phones.
Last but not least is my son Ethan, and here are his picks.
I chose NVIDIA, Apple, Intel, Tesla, and Best Buy. NVIDIA is a really good company for PC gaming, and also is it in cars? It's in some of the cars. I chose Apple because everyone in our family has an Apple device, and Apple comes out with a new phone every year. I chose Intel because I have a gaming PC and I use the Intel i7, and it's not the best one, and it still works really well. I chose Tesla because it is a really powerful car that runs on battery and you don't have to waste money every year for gas. And I chose Best Buy because every time I go to Best Buy, there's so many people there trying to find the PS5 or trying to find something expensive. I want to invest in Apple and Tesla because every time I use an iPod, which is really old, it works very well. It doesn't have the biggest screen, and I have an iPad that works really well, and they come out with a new phone every year that everyone wants to buy. But I want to invest in Tesla because it is a really good car company that a lot of people use, and they use it because there's a screen on it where you can watch whatever you want, and there's also it runs on battery and you don't have to waste money on gas.
Some interesting stock picks, to say the least. I know I'm pretty excited to kind of see how this whole game unfolds. And really, after all is said and done, I thought about this for a while, and I came up with 6 different lessons that I hope that my kids learn from doing this investment game. First lesson, number 1, really to just understand what investing is. Now, thanks to me, thanks to a dad who literally forces them to save at least 70 to 80% of any cash that they receive throughout the year from gifts or Christmas or anything like that, they already understand the general concept of what savings is. But in order to kind of introduce what investing is, I have to compare how much their savings account has earned, zilch, because interest rates I think on the money market we have are 0.01%. So I have to compare what they're currently making now in their savings account to a potential alternative that could make them more money even without putting cash or more savings into the account, i.e. investing in the stock market. Number 2, how to approach making an investment. So when I talked to my kids about this game, I didn't just want them to randomly pick 5 stocks or 3 stocks or 2 stocks. I wanted them to actually think a little bit about why they would want to invest in this stock or that stock, and not just go on YouTube and say, oh, that guy did that or that girl did that, so I'm just going to buy that. They're gonna have to do a little bit of research in picking out some of these stocks and put in the time. Now, with this research, I didn't want them to go crazy as far as looking at price to earnings multiples and looking at really any financial data, because that would just be way too confusing and it would bore them to death and they would just lose interest quickly. What I want them to do, and what I had them do, is kind of focus more on the qualitative aspects of an investment. So just thinking about the things that they like to spend their money on, like the products that they buy, Why do they like to buy them? And are they going to buy more of those things? Will other people buy some of those products or services as we go on in 2021 and years to come? And also thinking about, of those things that they like to buy, what companies make them? Are those companies public or private, which introduces another discussion as to what's the difference between a public and a private company? And also thinking about some of the things that they buy, whether it's an iPhone, what goes into making an iPhone, for example, and what are the companies that make those things that go into making an iPhone? So really just kind of focusing more on the qualitative factors and less on some of the quantitative ones. Number 3, to introduce them to risk. So when I first talked about this game to my son, Ethan, who's a PC gamer, as you heard a little bit in the video, he already knows what NVIDIA is. He knows that NVIDIA is a company that makes graphics cards and chips for computers and even some automobiles. So that's naturally the first thing he wanted to invest his money in was NVIDIA. But what he didn't know is that NVIDIA is trading nearly at an all-time high, and that it's in the technology sector, which has been the best performing sector for at least the past 5 years. So I really have to kind of introduce them a little bit to risk, and I want them to understand what it means to buy a company that is trading at nearly all-time highs and is in a sector that can be extremely volatile and has run up in value over the past 5 years compared to some other sectors, and compare that to something like a Walmart or a Procter & Gamble that might not have as much volatility, that might grow slower over time and pay out a higher dividend. Now with risk, I am funding their accounts with my own monies, but at some point when they turn the age of 21, this money will become theirs. I also added that element of being able to spend their profits on anything they want around Christmas time should they have the best performing account, because I wanted to keep them engaged throughout the process. So if we just started the game and we were going to track how well the accounts have done throughout the year and they didn't get to actually spend any of that money, I don't know how engaged they would be. So I wanted to introduce an element that gave them the opportunity to spend some of that money on something that they wanted to around Christmas time. I'm interested to see how this is going to play out, and curious how closely they'll be tracking their investments throughout the year, and if their account goes way up or way down, if they'll be compelled to sell, which kind of brings me into the next lesson that I hope that they learn from this, which is how to buy and sell a stock. Thankfully, we live in 2021, and with technology, we now have the ability to buy what's referred to as fractional shares, giving a lot of investors who don't necessarily have tens of thousands of dollars the ability to buy a stock like Amazon, which currently trades at, I think, well over $3,000 a share. It allows them to have access to a stock like that without having $3,000. They could buy maybe 1/8 or 1/10 of Amazon and still have access to a company like that. There are many brokerages out there, I think, that offer the fractional trading. Robinhood's one. For this example, we're using Charles Schwab. It's called Stock Slices, I believe. But really any brokerage out there, TD Ameritrade, Fidelity, Schwab, they should all offer some type of fractional share trading platform that you could use. But getting back to the buying and selling for a moment, I really just want to show my kids how to buy a stock, like what it means to go on to a brokerage account, enter in a trade, click buy, and now you own the shares. I kind of want to take them through that whole process. On the sell side, I'm not as concerned with that, because part of this game is really teaching them about investing, not short-term trading. So if they are compelled to sell, if they even know they're able to go in and sell their stocks because it went way up or way down, I'm just not going to let them, unless we have like a GameStop scenario where they're up 1,600%. I mean, I doubt we're going to see that. But if something crazy like that happens, then maybe we'll adjust our methodology a little bit. But as far as selling goes, for the most part, they're not going to be able to sell. They're going to have to watch the account grow over time and not be tempted to go in and take profits or sell if it goes down in the fear of losing money. And the fifth thing I want them to learn is simply just how to calculate performance in their account. So nothing too crazy here. They're in 3rd and 6th grade respectively, so I want them to apply some of what they're learning now in their math classes into the real world. And I think this is also going to allow me the opportunity to introduce to them what an index is, like the S&P 500, as we're going to use that as a proxy or a gauge for measuring their performance. So when I started thinking about this game, I knew that I wanted to have my kids just focus strictly on stocks for investing, because talking about mutual funds and index funds and ETFs, I thought would be a little too complicated to introduce to them up front. But if I could show them how stock performance works, how percentages work, and show them how the S&P 500 has performed, and then compare that to what their performance is, then they might get a better feel for, oh, okay, well, what's the S&P 500? Oh, so my stocks are part of that, and oh, I have the ability to just buy 500 stocks and own it in what's called an ETF or an index fund. The sixth thing I want them to learn from this game is just being able to learn a valuable new skill that they will unfortunately never be taught in school. It's sad, but if you look at grade school, high school, even college, personal finance is just not a subject that is taught. And unfortunately, it's one of the most important subjects that I think we should be teaching our kids and our grandkids at a young age. And frankly, it's just not taught to the level that I think that it should be. If you're like me, your kids or your grandkids have been stuck at home for nearly a year with nothing else to do after they finish their 2 hours of online learning other than burying their faces in social media. So I'm really hoping with the stock picking game, I can ease them into the world of personal finance without making it too boring or dull. I'm hoping that they'll be able to apply some of the math skills that they've learned in school to the real world. We'll see if that Common Core actually works. I'm hoping to distract their minds even for a second from TikTok and WhatsApp and YouTube, and have them focus a little bit more on what's going on in the real world, and even with some of the companies that they've invested their money in. And if we can have fun doing it, I mean, that's just icing on the cake. I will continue to post updates on the Persona Kids stock picking game throughout the year. So be sure to subscribe to our channel, subscribe to our blog, and follow us on LinkedIn to stay up to date. Thanks to all of you who follow OneUp Financial and watch our videos. We'll see you in the next one.